Richard Stallman. He is the outspoken leader of the free software movement, and probably the biggest target of Richard Stallman over the years has been Facebook. What is it about Facebook that makes Facebook so evil in the eyes of Richard Stallman and the free software movement? Let's take a look. So in wake of the recent Facebook controversy about Facebook accumulating personal data, maybe overreaching a little bit in the data that Facebook accumulates, personal data, also possible abuses involving that accumulation of data, Richard Stallman a few days ago wrote an op-ed. He basically outlined a new law, basically a radical proposal. He wants some new laws written to try to curb all this data accumulation. According to Richard Stallman, it's gotten out of hand, that the data accumulation that's being done in the U.S. and other Western countries today because of technology is far more pervasive and widespread than the surveillance systems, say, used by the communists and the Soviet Union, back in the day. Let's take a look at Richard's op-ed here. This was in The Guardian, and the title of this particular article, I'll link to it in the description. A radical proposal to keep your personal data safe. The surveillance imposed on us today is worse than in the Soviet Union. We need laws to stop this data being collected in the first place. I won't read the entire article, but basically, let's see, if we go down here a little bit, an unjust state is more dangerous than terrorism, and too much security encourages an unjust state. Basically, it's because of the threat of terrorism and the need for security that a lot of these companies and a lot of governments have kind of overstepped their bounds a little bit regarding data collection and with the invasion of privacy. Richard Stallman mentions that he sees this everywhere. He mentions like the transport systems in London. They have a digital payment card system that records the trips, the passengers, the names, where you're going, everything like that. Why do these systems need that information, according to Richard Stallman? Why do they need to know who's taking that trip, where they're going? And I agree with him. He also mentions cab services, the same thing. Pretty much think about everything that you do in life that has some kind of record, has some kind of trail behind it, computer trail, paper trail, everything you do, paying with debit cards, credit cards, anytime you do anything at a kiosk, anything that's electronic, somebody's tracking you. And of course, on the internet, we can't get away from things like Facebook, Google, Yahoo, and all that. The mobile devices we use, of course, with Google's Android operating system and, the Mac OS, especially iOS on mobile devices. We're spied on constantly, and we really have given up pretty much any sense of being private and being free. We have basically sold ourselves to these companies. As Richard Stallman famously says, like, for the people that use Facebook, they are not Facebook users. They are the Facebook used. And that's what we are. We're all being used by these companies. We are a product to them. And that's it. We're no longer human beings. Now, for most of us, we're not naive. We knew when we signed up for Facebook that Facebook was going to collect data on us. Maybe all of our data, as much as it could collect, contact information, everything about your life, everything about your history. I certainly knew that when I signed up for Facebook. So I'm not angry at Facebook about it. I'm more angry at myself for allowing myself to be used by Facebook. But you know what? There have been people from the beginning telling us not to use services like Facebook, and we didn't listen. One of them, Richard Stallman. I'm going to show you a page here from Richard Stallman's personal website. Stallman.org is the site. And on this site, he actually has a bunch of pages on why you shouldn't use various anti-free services. One of them, of course, is Facebook. Here's his page on reasons not to use Facebook. And there are quite a bit. And it's basically broken down into subcategories. Real names is the fact that Facebook kind of requires you to actually use your real identity. They want to know everything about you, a real name, real phone numbers, real email addresses. Can you create a fake Facebook account? You kind of can, but it's not that easy. And at the end of the day, Facebook probably still has ways to find out who you really are on Facebook. Even if you're using a fake Facebook account, fake name, fake address, fake whatever, they're still tracking everything you do as that fake user. So you're still not free, even if you are creating some kind of fake identity. Censorship, Richard Stallman mentions. Political censorship. Richard Stallman, of course, is a bit of a hippie, so he's big on the whole, freedom of the press and all that. So am I. I'm a big proponent of the First Amendment. I hate censorship, but you know what? Facebook is not a public site. Facebook is a privately owned company. If they want to censor something, that's their business, in my opinion. But I understand where Richard Stallman is coming from, that he doesn't like censorship on the web, especially for such a large site like Facebook. Facebook owns so much of the internet. When Facebook decides to do any kind of censorship, it's kind of a big deal. Journalism, Facebook takes down a lot of journals, articles they don't like, negative movie reviews apparently. They banned a video made by Swedish Cancer Society about breast cancer because it showed a cartoon that had figures with circles as breasts. I didn't know that, Richard. Thanks for sharing that here. Let's see. Facebook arbitrarily censors and closes the accounts of prisoners. Now that is pretty scandalous right there. They shouldn't be doing that. Privacy, of course. A lot of reasons not to use Facebook concerned with your personal data. Of course, we've already discussed a little bit about that. But even though it's reportedly possible to delete a Facebook account, they make it almost impossible to do so. And even after you request deleting your account, it could take weeks or even months before they delete your account. If that account ever gets deleted at all, Facebook buys personal data. We already knew that. They snoop on surfers via discus comments. I did not know that. Facebook provided personal data to MasterCard. That's not surprising. They don't accumulate all this personal data without intending to sell it to other companies. So that's not surprising. Facebook stores a huge amount of data on each person being used. Well, yeah. And so forth and so on. It's actually a very, very lengthy web page here on why you should not use Facebook. They profile people, of course. The better profiling they have, the better they're able to serve you ads and also, to sell you stuff. And of course, it mentions ads, psychological harm. Facebook cuts some used off from in-person interaction, and it keeps mentioning the word used instead of users. Again, Richard Stallman does not refer to Facebook users. He refers to the Facebook used. So Facebook cuts some used off from in-person interaction with their friends and family instead of actually picking up the phone and having a conversation with somebody, or just getting in your car, driving over to their house and having a face-to-face meeting with somebody. Now, what do? You use Facebook Messenger. That is harmful. I agree with Richard Stallman, because you're no longer really talking to your real friends and family. You're just talking to pixels on a screen. These people are not real anymore. They're just pixels on a screen. He also has some categories here. Why not to use Facebook? Taxes, racism, control of media, and various miscellaneous things. Now, what makes this all a bit hypocritical on my part is I've always agreed with Richard Stallman's views on services like Facebook, even though I signed up for Facebook. Even though right now, in the scrolling text on this screen, I'm asking you to visit my Facebook page. So I'm a bit hypocritical, but what can I do? Doing this channel, this YouTube channel, and having the followers that I'm gaining, a lot of people expect me to have some kind of social media presence. And they expect me to have, at the very least, a Facebook page and a Twitter page. Can I get away from those services? Sure, I could, but most of the people that are following me, like on this YouTube channel, they have Facebook accounts, they have Twitter accounts. They're not going to have Diaspora accounts or Mastodon accounts. So I would like to get away, especially from Facebook. Twitter, I probably need to get away from Twitter too, because it's probably no better than Facebook, but Facebook in particular, I would love to get off of. Recently, in a recent episode of Big Daddy Linux Live, the Biddle podcast every Saturday night, Michael from over at Tux Digital mentioned Diaspora. That really, those that are looking to get away from something like Facebook need to check out Diaspora. It is another social media platform, but it is decentralized. Decentralized meaning everyone's data is not being held on huge central servers owned by one large corporation, basically. The data is decentralized. It's not in one place. Freedom, of course, unlike some networks, you don't have to use your real identity with Diaspora. So I don't have to be Derek or DistroTube, or I can create a fake name. Everything about me can be imaginary. Privacy. Diaspora does not collect data of any kind, and the data on Diaspora is my data. My personal data is owned by me. It's not owned by them. They're not free to do what they want to with that data. They can't sell it to people. So I don't really know that much about Diaspora. I need to take a look at it and see if maybe this is a viable alternative to Facebook, because I don't do that much on Facebook. I post on Facebook on the DistroTube Facebook page when I upload videos, and occasionally I interact with viewers on Facebook. They send me messages through Facebook, and I always try to respond, but it's not a platform I really want to be on, and honestly, it's not a platform I can personally advocate the viewers of this channel should be on. We all need to get off of Facebook. So we really need to take a good hard look at alternatives, and Diaspora may be one I take a look at. Before I go, I do want to do a special thanks to all my patrons, all my Patreon supporters, A.K. Ron, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Brian, Carl, Greg, Carlos, Rob, Matt, Dark One, Mark, Christian, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen, Marcus, Interceptor, and Bob. You guys are awesome. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.